Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Well, it is Wednesday night, so you know that means a hard cut by your man Ryan, because he does not like a fade out. We are back after a 2-week mini vacation because AEW decided to do 4-hour shows, and there was not a chance in hell any of us were going to be here at midnight. And actually, turns out, not all of us were going to be here for this. So two of my co-hosts, both Kate and Joe, decided that the grind was still scary, so they ran from it. So when I was co-hostless, I thought to myself, I need a beautiful bearded man to join me. JPJ didn't respond, but I did get Pluggo. Pluggo, how you doing?
I'm doing well. You know, listen, you get into that vacation mode, and it's hard to get out of it. So I can understand Kate and Joe's frustrations, if you will, or lack of motivation to come back. So I'm glad to be here. I don't know what JPJ is doing. I don't know if he's doing something right now or not.
It was just more me saying that he was
he's a big
man.
He's a big timer, dude. He's big shot now these days. And listen, you know, it's not my day to watch him. I gave that job to somebody else today.
What the Hive have some on Wednesdays?
I don't know, maybe.
You have them on Thursdays, and then the Hive has them on.
Yep. I get them on Thursdays, and then the Hive has them on like the other days, and then Drew has them one day, and Jose gets them. So, you know, it's doing a lot of things.
He's all over the place. So how you doing otherwise, Pluggo?
I am doing well. Like I was telling you post-show, I actually was available to watch Dynamite live for the first time in a couple weeks without having to like catch up, and don't have to work tomorrow. So I thought I could hang out with you, buddy.
I really appreciate it. I don't have work tomorrow either. So for all you wondering, does that mean we're going to have a long show? No, it just means I don't have to get up tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I will say I'm going to do not a break, but my commercial advertisement here. Please listen to the Shining Wizards Network. Listen to the Shining Wizards podcast. They've been going on, I don't know how, 15, 16, 17, 18, I don't know how many years now, but they've been doing it forever. It's awesome. They're awesome. They do some of the best interviews in the business, so please go listen to them and all the other great shows on the Shining Wizards Network. When I have the full crew here, we'll do an actual official ad break next week, I guess, when I have the full crew. But that's it for our return. Pieces expressing, I think, what a lot of people are feeling. Dan was looking forward to a Kate rant about one woman's match in a 2 hour and 37 minutes.
Oh, I got you, Dan. I got you. Don't worry. Whenever you're ready.
You know what? Let's start. Let's go, Pluggo. And we'll go right there. This was a 2.5+ hour show. Hi, Kylie. Hi, Taylor. Hi, Big G. I do like to say hi to chat before it started. So this was a 2.5 hour show plus 7 minutes, which again, Plug and I, before we started, both admitted we didn't realize that until watching Dynamite.
I was so happy it was back to 2 hours today. So happy. And then they're like 2.5, which really means like 2:45 in AEW time.
Me too. I mean, when I was watching the Mercedes match, and I'm like, this should be the main event, but I'm like, it's not the main event. What's going? And then I'm like, I pulled up the guide. It says 10:30. I'm like, oh god damn it.
Yeah.
You know, so they have a 2.5 hour show. They had one women's match. I think only was there more than one women's even segment?
Check it out. I did the math, Ryan. I did some statistical analysis of the show. 2 hours and 10 minutes in before the main event, you had one women's match, which was the Mercedes Moné and Zeuskis. I don't want to say her name wrong, but that match for the CML World Title, which had Aubrey in it. At that point, that was the only 3 women that had made an appearance on the show. And then you had the Mina Shirakawa pop up there, and then you had Tony Storm's thing, and of course Marina Shafir was hanging out main event side. So by that's five women.
Six women.
6 women, 2.5 hours. And what it.
Oh no, yeah, 6 months.
Yeah, but the thing, and it's like it's one of these things where it's like people like to say, like to try to make excuses and be like, well, this draws and this does. That 14-person tag match at the beginning of the show, all those dudes got to get their stuff in, and it's just like, build some other storylines within your women's division for me. Like Mercedes and Toni Storm could potentially be one of the biggest matches in women's AEW history. What other match are you excited for on the women's side of things? You're not, because they don't put them on these cards, or they put them in quick matches like the 4-hour special. The first one, the Tekla match was like 2.5 hours in. Like it took them, or it just takes them forever to integrate these women into these matches, but they can find a spot for 14 people to kick this thing off.
I'm looking for it and I'm struggling to find it. There was someone who tracks all the time women wrestle, and I was looking for how long the match was.
Yeah. It was a good match. It was solid, and it got a good amount of time, but it definitely was just like, oh, okay.
So that's the match itself. There's no complaints. Great match, a lot of fun. All right, here you go. I found it.
Boom.
It was 9 minutes and 19 seconds.
Just the match, so bell to bell, not So you could say they got 15 minutes total with the extra stuff and the entrances and everything, maybe.
Yeah, and it was a great match, and very hard hitting, a lot of fun. Like honestly, Mercedes is still killing it in her matches. I can't complain about that at all. But like you said, it was not only the only women's match, it was the only women's segment. And I would have wanted 2 matches, but at least, God forbid, give me something else.
Yeah, give me something, promote something for Collision on Saturday that's coming back, and then I hear the argument that Tony doesn't draw. These segments don't draw. He does what draws, but he doesn't put an emphasis on the women's division enough. You got to put him in spots to succeed. You got to put him in main event matches. You got to put him in matches. You got to give me a reason to care. Mercedes Moné right now should be focusing on Toni Storm, but there should be an entire division of women that want that TBS championship that she has. That's an afterthought on this card. You know what I mean? It doesn't even matter. There's no other belts for them to fight for, so there's really nothing going on. You're starting to build the foundations for a tag division, but again, give me a women's tag match to kick this thing off, or figure out a way to sneak it in there somehow. It's just very apparent that he's like, I've got the biggest match in AEW history right here for the women. I'm just going to focus on this, and it's like it's not a great look, man.
So I'm trying to do a thing of a comparison here, and it's tough because wrestling is such a unique beast. But if you're watching a TV show, we'll say you're watching The Sopranos. I'm trying to think of like a classic, and they have a character, Joey Gabagool, and Joey gets 2 minutes of screen time randomly every now and again, and they go to. Was it? I think David. Was it whoever? They go. I forget who did The Sopranos. I'm blanking, and I knew his name. But they go to him and they say, "Why aren't you putting in Joey Gabagool more?" Well, no one wants to watch him when he's on. It's like, no, of course not, because I know nothing about this man. Yeah. And I know that's the kind of, but like, it doesn't matter that wrestling any show. If you only give me a minute of someone or 2 minutes and give me nothing about them. Of course, I don't want to. They're not going to get the biggest draw from anyone. But if you keep doing it and building something up, they're going to start getting fans. You know who wasn't a draw the first time they wrestled? Kenny Omega. You know who wasn't? And I don't say wrestled ever, but I'm just talking anywhere they go. First time, Will Ospreay. If you don't give people time, they're not going to get over. It's simple math.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate because there's a good roster there of women, and it's just like it stops and it starts and I hate to be this guy, but you saw NXT on Tuesday. They had 4 women's matches, plenty of segments. I'm not asking for you to do that in AEW. I'm just asking, like, integrate some segments throughout your show, build some storylines, have some moments, do something to keep the names like Megan Bain in my mind's eye, Thunder Rosa in my mind, keep them in our minds so that we're, excited when they do get that match and they do get that spot, but you go cold with them for weeks or so. And then you're like, oh, yep, here, like who's ready in the division to take over? Who's the next person in line after Tony and Mercedes at All In? Who's the next one up?
Well, that's just it. Yeah, I mean they have the talent. It's not like they're lacking the wrestlers. They have the all the women they could possibly want to deliver on this. Mm-hmm. Big G saying that they wish they'd let Mercedes lose every once in a while. Mercedes is going to eventually be losing matches.
Yeah,
this is very clearly a belt collector, win them all kind of gimmick, which I'm okay with. They did it with Kenny. That's a thing, and I'm okay with it because it has a cool visual to it, and also clearly these other companies are seeing dollar signs because they're saying, like CMLL is going, well, Mercedes has to come back now.
Yeah,
like she's got her belt, she has to come back. So there's some business there. Scott George was out of the card, just was out on this card, wasn't for him. I could see that. I mean, it was the problem. When you have shows like this is for people like, I don't ever fault anyone for saying it's not for me because there's a lot of wrestlers who you don't know, who you're unfamiliar with, and you don't have to enjoy watching people that you're not going to see next week. Like that's no one's requirement to be like, this guy's not going to be on my screen next week, so I can't enjoy him because like I get it. But I mean, I personally liked a lot of what they did, but the lack of women's wrestling was kind of like, again, Mercedes being the only one. You couldn't have taken one of your super athletic women in the back and put them against, one of CMLL's awesome wrestlers. Like you couldn't do that. I'm sure that CMLL has, an awesome luchador wrestler that the female luchador throw out there.
Where's Tekla? You guys have been building her up the last couple of weeks. You could have put a squash match in there, something just to, like, it's just. And the Mercedes losing thing, would that have benefited AEW if she came in and lost a bunch of matches? Probably not. Are we to the point where there's been a couple of times that maybe she should have taken a loss? Yeah, I would have liked to have seen them figure out a way to drop the TBS championship from her just because, like, go ahead and collect all the other belts just because, again, like we said, there's nothing for this woman and there's no uproar in that locker room to be like, we're going to get that TBS championship because if Mercedes gets Tony's AEW Women's World Championship, that she's got everything. And then what do we do? Like, there should be this like outcry on screen in kayfabe to say, hey, I want that TBS championship, and I'm going to get that just in case because I don't want you to have a monopoly over what we got going on. But they don't even write that kind of stuff into the storyline. Like, I don't know.
I'm with you, and again, it's hey SJ. It's one of those things where it's like, how do I want to say this in a better fashion, but.
You don't want to say it in a better fashion?
I'm trying to think. No. Like, how do I say it? I had it phrased poorly in my head, so I'm trying to phrase it properly.
I phrase things really well in my head and then say them poorly. You're trying to do the opposite.
Yeah. I guess what I'm getting down to, I understand. I agree with you. They should already be building to what I think they're going to get to, which is Mercedes dealing with multiple challengers at once. Yeah. You're going to have whoever's going after the women's title versus whoever's going after the TBS. They're going to be going after, and really, there's a story to be there that she just can't hold both because she's just too worn down. You're taking challenger after challenger after challenger, but I'm a firm believer you have this week 4.5 hours of TV. You should have a minimum of 3 women's matches.
Yeah.
I think you should have 4. I think you should have 2 and 2 personally. And if you do that, I think it should be 2 singles and 2 tag matches every week for women. And I don't like being formatted, but right now I'm thinking format because they just don't do it at all. And they should make women's tag belts, and they should get, because you start developing them, and then all of a sudden you will have 4 people that everyone's clamoring to see, wanting to take the belt off Mercedes, and that's great.
Yeah,
because they don't even necessarily have to wrestle Mercedes. If you have 4 people that fans want to win, those 2 they can wrestle each other, and fans will be all about that.
mm-hmm.
Like, it's not hard. You just have to do it. Like, they do it with the men so well, so it's frustrating when they were doing well with the women for a while, and then
it just becomes this plug and play challenger thing, and then nobody believes that these women are going to beat, Toni Storm or Mercedes Moné, because it's like, oh, you're just the next one in line, and there's not really been a storyline that makes sense for you to take the title. If anybody takes the title off of, Toni Storm leading up to this, it would have been a shock value thing. Like, it's frustrating. And like you said, they had been going for a while. I don't know if it's because this 3-week stretch of TV is these anomaly shows that are kind of not, I mean, the Summer Blockbuster and Fyter Fest were more in storylines. Fyter Fest really felt like a promotion for Grand Slam, really. Maybe that's it. But even then, like, if you're going to, these shows are just to appease Mexico. This is our Mexico debut. Put some things on there, because you didn't throw all of your heavy hitters out there tonight. I don't have the answer. That's why I'm sitting here with you. But it does have an optical. It does optically just does not look right to say, we have this great women's roster, but we're only going to use a couple of them every week.
That being said, the women's the Mercedes match was great. I mean, that was hard hitting. Again, she's been killing it lately with great match after great match.
Yeah,
she's always better when it's a stiffer style. And then you had Carmen Sandiego at the end.
Dude, that was awesome. Yeah, this is no shade at the women themselves, because I think Mercedes Moné is fantastic. I love the CEO gimmick. I'm cool with a belt collector gimmick. There's not much to her right now, and that's not really her fault. Everybody throws creative control out there, but she doesn't ultimately book the show. So
yeah, I mean that's going to be their weakest part until they decide to make it not, I guess. Like, and it's been consistent, and they have taken steps forward, but not nearly as many as they should. I guess that's where I was trying to go with that. They've taken like 1 or 2 steps forward. By this point, it should be like 10.
Yeah,
like, because and I hate to say, we'll use NXT again back as an example, because NXT had a bunch, and NXT gets decent numbers, and they're successful, and
yeah.
It's like, it can work if you just put time into it. Like,
the reason the women don't draw, and I say this, kind of, sarcastically, is because they don't draw, is because you don't book them in enough to keep them. People go, oh, that's the for the first 3 years of Dynamite, it was that's the 9:30 spot. You know what I mean? Like, and now it's just, oh, hey, there's the next plug and play challenger. And really, this Mercedes and Toni, I know they got till July 12th to get this. It's kind of been a slow build. Some of these segments haven't really progressed anything. They're just kind of annoying each other right now. So, but the Carmen Sandiego get-up was pretty dope.
Yeah, that was funny to me. The whole lead into it with the noir style, dialogue and all that, which, I'm sorry, I don't know about you. I can't hear anything noir anymore and not think of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
Were you a Whose Line Is It Anyway fan?
I'm not super duper familiar with it, but
I forgot you don't watch things.
I do watch things, just I haven't watched that in years. Is that still on?
I don't know yes, I think it is, but I'm talking about from the 90s.
Oh, it's been a while.
They had a whole game where they would narrate like they were in a noir, and that's where I go now when I hear it. But that's just me. All right, if
you're one of those cool guys. I don't watch it.
I am. I'm a cool cat who talks about improv. Yeah. So we can move on. Before we do, I want to say hello to 2LT Photo, Jesse Ozak. Since Kate's not here, I'll be nice. Pieces, all you guys. Hi, thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Apparently 2LT saying it's still all of them minus Drew Carey. I think Colin left too. I had read somewhere. Again, Pluggo doesn't like anything, so it's very difficult to get him to. I'm looking what's behind you, and it's all just wrestling, so it's not even like I can pick anything up from behind you.
I was going to say, is there anything not wrestling behind me? There's I do have a Jackie Robinson Funko Pop up there. So
I know you like sports. You are a sports guy.
I am a sports guy. I got a LeBron James head. Remember when he had that Space Jam doll and everybody was stealing the heads off of him?
No.
Oh, it was like a big thing. But that's the only two sports things over here. Not because it's just my wrestling space. Yeah, I watch about the same things I try to branch out and add new shows into the mix, but I have this tendency to like start something and then like just go back to my norm. Plus, I fill most of my week with the wrestling I have to watch on top of all the other stuff that I do. So, like I have four kids, a shoot job. I help coach my son's little league teams and all that. So it's
being a parent.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. Like I said, I just kind of fit in what I can. And I'm once I get to bed, I can't watch anything I haven't already seen because I will stay up.
Yes.
And binge and go one more episode. So I default to the same 2 or 3 shows to fall asleep to every night.
Yeah, I will say that I'd like a comfort show to fall asleep, but it just hit me why JPJ is not here. It has to do with sports. He knew that I would be making fun of his Boston Red Sox for trading.
Oh yeah, the you mean the Pittsburgh Pirates East?
Yeah,
Eastburg? Because they're operating like a damn small market team. They're the Boston Red Sox. They're like, we're not going to bring up our best prospect because it'll save us $5 million. We're going to go and trade Rafael Devers because he makes a lot of money. He is a head case. Well, he is a head case, but we're just going to trade him for next to nothing.
They don't make sense at all.
Just wait till tomorrow night on Beards. He's probably going to yell.
I will be watching and laughing.
I heard he yelled. I haven't watched it yet. I heard he yelled on the Swarm quite a bit. His new show that he does when he can just talk sports. Mrs. Pluggo's in the house. Where, Scott? I didn't see her.
Maybe he's just acknowledging her in general.
Hey, you know what? I do that as well. Respect to Mrs. Pluggo. She just got home. Yeah. So if she hears this, hi, honey. But that's probably why he's ducking you because, you Philly fans. He doesn't like you anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't, but I would be making fun of him for it because that's such a terrible trade.
That Devers trade was out of left field. They mismanaged it's bullshit. They mismanaged him from the start when they told him one thing and did another, but then his unwillingness to not want to. If you've noticed in baseball over the last couple weeks, I won't go too deep into this because I don't want to derail your show. But there was the there was the pitcher out of Milwaukee who demanded a trade, and they're like, "Well, we're going to trade you for the worst player on the White Sox. Have fun in Chicago, bro."
That's right.
Yep. And then Boston's like, "Hey, Devers, you're not happy here. We need to shed payroll because we're broke, and we're going to ship you to the Giants, who absolutely need you to stay pace with that dynamite NL West. But we're not going to get the full return for you. But see ya." So baseball's getting back to it's the owners versus the players, and it's even more like, hey, if you don't fall in line, we're just going to ship you out of here and deal with it.
I don't understand how Boston is the poor team.
You'd have to ask JPJ a little bit further because he obviously follows it every day, being from Boston.
It's like they are, without hesitation, a top 5 market.
Yeah. Tickets aren't getting any cheaper. I live near Chicago because I'm from South Bend, and a buddy of mine, they go on a yearly Cubs trip and they try to see a new team every year, and they invite me every year, which I love, but I can't always go because it's just hard to do sometimes. And they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go see the Red Sox this year." And I looked at tickets and I was like, "Nah, they're not getting." They're insane. And I can't imagine the ticket at Fenway right now has dropped in price that you just dropped your $300 superstar.
Yeah,
Top
I mean
10 hitter in the game.
they're still making money.
Yeah.
They aren't poor. So I listen. I understand they're not LA and they're not New York. I get that, but they're Philly pays, and they're Philly. Like we're talking like. I will say around Ford agreeing with us that one sub 10-minute women's match on 2.5 hour show is nasty. Where that's we complained about that, Laurent. That is not a good thing, but there was good on this show. We started the show with Hangman Adam Page.
I get it, Scott. Now, yes. When I have time to acknowledge Mrs. Pluggo, Scott, I make sure to acknowledge her. When we have time.
Fair enough.
I get it. I won't disclose how much time that is because I think that would just be more of an indictment on me and not her. But hey,
we can all guess. I think there was Missy Elliott song about it.
Oh, that's fair. Anyway,
but we start with a Hangman Adam Page promo in Spanish, meaning I understood none of it. I do know Excalibur was translating, and I caught some of it, though I did look it up online later because I didn't know what he said.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch most of it either until I realized Excalibur was translating it.
But he was speaking kind of low, so I didn't really hear him.
Yeah, because I think he was... here's what I think happened. I don't think that was the initial plan. I think Hangman went out, cut the promo in Spanish, which was dope, and the crowd was eating it up. But then I think Excalibur realized I don't think the fans at home probably know what he's saying, so I'm going to try not to cut him off, but I'm going to tell you guys like what, because that's the vibe I caught on it.
Yeah, because and I mean it is a TV program, like you have to, put some something there for the TV fans, and even if it's been closed captioning, but whatever. So I am glad that. But apparently, he talked about his childhood growing up. They had a farm, and in the summer they'd have some immigrants from Mexico come and help him on the farm. And he apparently named like the men who would come help, and they taught him a lot. So it was a very apparently sweet and nice promo, ending with he's going to kick Mox's ass. I think it was a very nice touch for a show in Arena, Mexico. If you're making the man a babyface, it's the
way to go. And they were eating it up, and I like the line where he said some inappropriate things about Jon Moxley. Excalibur goes, "Well, I know what he said, but I'm not going to translate that part of it to the TV audience." I'll speak. She heard her ears burning.
Mrs. Pluggo, you've already been acknowledged. So
hi, Mrs. Pluggo. Love of my life. We've been talking about you for like 10 minutes.
I almost made a really bad joke. They're gonna bite my tongue.
No, that's fine. Go for it. She's probably
no. We've already said we don't want to point out your shortcomings.
My shortcomings. Let's just say the Mercedes Moné Zeusis match would have been a matinee for me. I'm gonna go on Broadway, baby.
Time limit's rolling that one.
That's right. Like, is he gonna go the full time? I'm beating my person. Anyway. It's late. I'm losing my mind here. That's what it is.
Losing my mind. So then we go to Dax Harwood and Stokely Hathaway making their entrance. Stoke gets on the mic. Cash Wheeler couldn't be there. I'm guessing visa issues.
I'm not sure how that worked. Yeah, because I definitely did find that odd. I did like the green tracksuits, though.
They were nice. We had our match of Adam Cole, Atlantis Jr., Bandito, Brody King, Daniel Garcia, and Templario versus Dax Harwood, Don Callis family, which is Hashishiro, which I guess he's part of. I didn't realize he was part of it. Josh Alexander, Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, and Lance Archer, and not part of the Don Callis family, but on their team, Volador Jr. Yeah.
They mentioned a couple weeks ago, was it during Fighter Fest, that Hechicero joined up with the Don Callis?
Then there was just too much going on in those 8 hours of wrestling.
It might have been. You could have quizzed me on who was in this match and I would have already forgot. There were so many people. They didn't even stand on the ring apron.
Well, I believe
Or is
they
that a
did
thing?
this in. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. This is where I could use someone like Kate. I think this was a style. This was a lucha style.
Yeah, it could be. I admittedly don't watch a ton of CMLL or AAA or anything. So this could be a match style that they do, which is fine. Like it was something different, and it was a lot of people, a lot of spots. Everybody,
see if there's any.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try see if I can find someone who would.
Admittedly, while you looked that up, I thought they were all standing off because it's hard to put 7-on-7 on the ring aprons for TV look for just being able to watch the match. But
so Scott is saying it was CMLL rules, but it might also be both. I think maybe it's a mixture of too many guys on the apron, but the way they were doing it was 100% CMLL rules, which is you didn't always have to have a tag.
Yeah.
You like get if you're throwing it, I think, out of the ring, the next guy just comes in.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know. I would venture to say that I'm not your expert on that.
Oh no, Scott knows the rules. Scott's saying no tags everyone on the floor who is in the ring. So there you go. Which I think is a nice touch. Introducing a different match style that's the home, CML was the home promotion in terms of it was their arena. Yeah. So that's a very nice touch. It was a fun match. It was all over the place. Jesus.
Sure.
I didn't know who half these guys were, but I had fun watching it.
Yeah, and I think that's like you said, like it's a match style that's specific to that promotion, that arena, that fan base. So you definitely want to do things that are going to appease the people in the crowd. I just kind of maybe they should have did a little bit better of job kind of explaining it to us. They instead kind of spent that time to kind of recap us on some of the storylines that were happening with the Don Callis family, which is fine too. But, and again, it's just one of those little things that if you're going to do that kind of thing, you got to remember that there's potentially millions of people watching at home that may not quite understand what you're doing. But yeah, like I said, all the spots were fun. It was a good time. Everybody got something in. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where I think that's where we miss like someone like Ian Riccaboni. Who's a little bit better at explaining, who tends to go that extra step to explain those things. I like it. I'm not insulting Excalibur, but I don't think Excalibur
you could say
always does that.
He doesn't care about the common fan. He's like, I'm here for the sickos that already know.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't know everything, so that's why I'm always like, I can suspend a lot of disbelief in professional wrestling, but if you don't kind of explain to me if you're going to do something new for your audience, because this is your audience getting exposed to CMLL, not the CMLL audience getting exposed to AEW in terms of the TV. So you got to kind of help me out a little bit as your AEW viewer. Go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Then I'm not going, where the heck's going on? There's just pure chaos in this match. Where's the rules?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I thought it was fun. Yeah, the good guys won.
Atlantis pinned Dax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't expect anything less. It's a fairly typical, I think, good guy versus bad guy multi-man, and not all the time, but a lot of times the good guys win that. Then we move on to Okada versus Mark Briscoe. This was a lot of fun. Okada really does have just some of the most beautiful drop kicks you'll ever see in wrestling.
Effortless.
I really like Mark Briscoe. I do. I just can't figure out his role.
I think you and I are kind of in the same wavelength. I'm watching it and I go, yeah, Mark Briscoe's fun, good time, does a lot, but he's always seemingly in this spot where you're just like, okay, That was cool. But why are we here? I know they did a little segment where he was just calling out Okada, but why are you calling out Okada? Why are you always in these spots? Like, I get it, you're a good hand to have, you're awesome, you do a lot of fun stuff. The karate stuff cracks me up. He's down to do whatever. That's always a good quality, but he always ends up in these moments. And that was one of them. And Okada looked great, though. I will say this: I know that that's always a disclaimer. Like, oh, did you get big match Kazu today? I thought he looked great today, and I thought him and Briscoe had a good match, and Okada looks ready to go for All In.
What I also don't understand I agree with you. Okada looked great, and I think him and Kenny are going to have a banger. Shocking, the guys who've had nothing but bangers are going to have
another one.
But the one thing I don't, again, going back to Mark Briscoe, is like he keeps being the friend to the good guy. Like, good guy gets in trouble with the group, Mark Briscoe shows up. Good guy gets hurt by someone, Mark Briscoe shows up. And at some point, I got to go, what is in it for Mark Briscoe?
He's the hillbilly Jey Uso.
I guess so. Like,
now that you put it that way, yeah, he just constantly is like in it for making friends. I guess he's just one of the boys. Like, I mean, loyalty's cool, but in this business, you gotta win some gold.
He constantly. I mean, I guess an argument could be made that by helping the good guys out constantly, he's given title shots, he's put into, but like, and I'm doing this totally in kayfabe of trying to like see where like, trying to understand a character's motivations, which I like to do. That's kind of one of the more fun things one of my favorite things to do in all of wrestling, or whatever. And I just can't fully understand his motivations. I guess maybe, like I said, he earned some title shots he hasn't really earned or something like that. But even then, he really doesn't. He just gets to lose.
Yeah.
And get beat up. Like, I don't get it. I guess that's where it goes from. It was a fun match. He has really fun matches. He's insane, but he can do a lot of really cool things. So like, it levels it out, and he gets to have some fun matches with people. And Okada is who Okada is. Like, I think Okada could have a good match with anyone type deal. Then they beat him up after for a few minutes, but then they stop. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe this is setting up for a massive heel turn for Mark Briscoe. You can hear the promo now. I was doing all that stuff for everybody. Now I'm out for me. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. You got me thinking about it now. I'm not sure.
I'm trying to think of Mark Briscoe heel, and I think there's a lot of fun to be had there.
For sure. I just don't know how they do it, or if they want to do it. I mean, he is one of the most over guys, right? He definitely gets a good
So that's one of those things where, like, you're taking a very big swing if you make him heel.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, he's over. Even though his character loses all the time and doesn't really have a lot of direction, he gets cheers everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
Do you leverage that into, if he turns heel, does he get the equal amount of boos? But I don't know, and that's a big swing, because if you'd hate to have to walk it back instantly.
Well, yeah, for sure. Because then you're like, whoops, we definitely miscalculated that. So maybe that's part of it. They're just like, we're not really sure what to do with him right now. Let's just keep putting him on. Yeah, they keep wanting him. Tony Khan, let us know what the motivations for Mark Briscoe are. Let us know. I know you're watching.
Yeah, I got to give him a call sometimes. Just be like, hey, Tony, right? TK, baby. Well, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Come on now.
So then we go into MJF versus Mystico. And MJF comes out wearing his red, white, and blue trunks and waving the American flag, and yet still got a decent cheer.
Yeah.
He actually struggled to get some boos for a while in this one. He did his best to do it, but like it took a while. And before we continue, I do want to acknowledge this CSI's comment because I think it's funny. all he knows is that Okada has to sell a bite from Briscoe, and that is the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen.
Oh my god, I forgot all about that when he stuck his finger in between the teeth, and then all of a sudden Briscoe had to like move his head to actually. Oh my god,
I missed that.
I
didn't miss.
forgot
I
all
didn't say I
about
missed
that.
it. I missed bringing it up. Yeah, that was bad.
The All-American MJF.
So yeah, MJF comes out, and then Mystico comes out to a huge cheer. Then they're singing his song, which was really cool that they used his music and got it, I guess, licensed, because that was really cool to hear the whole arena sing his song.
Oh yeah, they went in on it for a good couple of minutes.
And then, I have a question. I have to ask a question here.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So my question is, did he come out in the Sin Cara mask?
I don't know. I thought it's a Mystico mask.
Well, he was, as you remember, he was Sin Cara in WWE.
Yeah, it was a special mask, right?
And I think the mask he came out wearing was the color blue and all. I mean, I know he would use different colors, but his original color scheme was blue. And I think that was the mask. Scott George thing he did. I just found that really funny that he came out wearing the.
Oh, why not? A call back there.
The match itself was a lot of fun. MJF definitely knows how to work the luchador style. He knows how to get the crowd going. He knows how to do the interactions. MJF, I don't think is typically a power wrestler, but he knows how to look powerful and strong when he's wrestling a lucha. And I think that's right. I don't love the ending, which is that Mystico won by disqualification because MJF kicked him in the, as Taz would say, yam bags.
The cojones.
I feel like half the time in wrestling that's legal and half the time it's not. I can never figure out.
Well, it was weird because MJF tapped out, but the ref was distracted, and then he kicked him in the nuts. And then he did it, and then MJF kicked Mystico in the nuts, and then MJF did it blatantly in front of the official, and I was just like, oh, come on. And then the whole beatdown ensued with the Hurt Business, and then he got demasked, and MJF put that luchador mask on with his red, white, and blue tights, flipping off the Hispanic crowd. Very cool. Very cool of you, MJF. Is that what the Hurt Is that what the Hurt Syndicate's all about?
Well, GP, yes. So as you said, he Hurt Syndicate comes in. They beat up Mystico. They take off his mask. Luchas from CMLL come out to save him, but all they're really doing is distracting the Hurt Syndicate because Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey get on the top ropes. So they're facing this way, and they get on top ropes behind them, and they do a double drop kick.
Speedball Mike Bailey was in shoes. Don't bury the lead. He wore shoes.
He wore shoes. It would have been funny if he wore like cleats. Like he just goes to the extreme. Like, I'm gonna wear spike shoes.
If I'm putting shoes on, they're gonna have spikes on them.
The funniest moment of the whole thing to me, though, was that they brought out a mask for Mystico to put back on so that he could stand up and cheer with the crowd. But they couldn't find him ringside, I think, for a few minutes, so they couldn't give him the mask. And then when they got to him, he had found another mask and put it on, so they made him take off the mask he had put on and put on the one they brought out for him.
How did they know to bring out a mask for him? Did they just have that ready just in case? Oh, that's what I want to know. Did they were like, you know what, this might go sideways, Kevin? Go grab a mask from from the merch shop and bring it with you just in case MJF goes crazy.
Well, maybe Mystico's just very smart, and he's like, guys, these are some very bad dudes, and they might pull my mask off. So can you just have this extra on hand that if you got to come out to give to me?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it was all pre-planned. I was also going to say I thought that this match and the MJF ending with it was kind of a weird. It was like this weird bounce at the beginning with Brody King's abolish the ice shirt. I was like, I wonder if those two talked backstage a little bit about the symbolism that they both were trying to portray tonight. very drastic just extremes there.
I like I said, I mean, I don't know. The whole thing was just
It was a fine match. It was just a weird way to end it.
That's really what it comes down to. The ending has spoiled it for me a little bit because I'm like that. You didn't need to do that. You could have, even if you could have just done some tomfoolery and had MJF win dirty, and I would have been better than the BS they pulled.
Well, because you also look at it from the Hurt Syndicate side of things, where it's like Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin jumped in that ring, and they did just start beating down Mystico, but they all like Bobby looked like he hesitated for a minute, and he's like, "This is our guy now. Like this is what we're doing." Like there's still that element of like they're backing him because that they're supposed to because it's a contract thing. But they're not really like all in on the stuff that he's doing because you can even hear like MVP on the sidelines being like, "Hey MJF, use your head in this moment. Like don't lose your head." And then the Hurt Syndicate up to this point, they weren't just they would hurt people, they'd win definitively, and now you got a guy that's doing all this like kicking people in the nuts to get disqualified type stuff, and that's not winning. That's not the standard that has been set with this group. So it is kind of jiving differently, but we'll let it play out. I guess we can let it play out. I don't know. The last couple weeks with MJF, I'm just kind of like, I get it. And I know why it's doing it. It's a drastic opposite of what the Hurt Syndicate was. But the Hurt Syndicate's bread and butter was that it was cool. And he started to put that corny element into it, which is by design, but you can go too far. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the Mark Briscoe heel turn thing. If you miscalculate and it becomes something super corny, people are going to lose the momentum in it.
I think what also worries me is that I don't want to say this. You're blanking on the way I want to say this. That is not you were waiting to all in to do, I think, kill it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you stretch to all in.
Yeah. So it's what, almost 4 weeks now?
It's a month away.
Yeah, because it's the 12th. So, yeah.
And it kind of has already run its course.
It's just because it's blatantly obvious what they're trying to do with it. There was no like kind of like easing into it. It was like, yep, MJF's going to be MJF. He's wearing the MVP gear. He's over the top. He's doing And Eric wants to know what number mark order I am. I'm the bullpen arm that they call when they're out. So I'm like the 10th or 11th number in the mark order. Like I'm that last guy in the bullpen. I'm like Kiki Hernandez, you position player you throw out there when you're getting blown out.
Did we drive you out in one of those old bullpen carts?
Yeah. I come out and I'm just like, what's up, guys? Hey. It's too far for me to run from the bullpen, so they drive me up. It's really nice. It's kind of nice when I get to come here, get to ride in.
I always love that I miss the old bullpen carts.
Yeah, that was a good touch. Now they make them like run out there, but
yeah, I mean they're stupid.
Yeah,
but I miss them. All right, then we get to Hologram versus Leo Rush versus Mascara Dorado versus Ricochet for the 4 million peso match. Now, before we begin, Pluggo, do you know how much in US dollars 4 million pesos is?
I would like to believe, and the only reason I'm going to answer the way I'm going to answer is because they've done this match style before. Is it $100,000?
I looked at it. It's $210,000.
Okay, because I was like, maybe it's the $100,000. They do that $100,000 fatal 4-way match, and I thought maybe that's the translation. But yeah, I wasn't sure.
I had to look that up. Obviously, I didn't know that off of the top of my head. I just thought that was interesting because it like 4 million pesos does just sound better.
Yeah, $210,000.
Yeah. So
I wonder how they decided that. I bet there's somebody like $1 million pesos, and they're like, yeah, that's not going to be enough. That's only like $75,000. Like we need to up the ante or something. I don't know, but yeah, it was a fun match.
Yeah,
I had a good time.
That's crazy, but yeah, it was. For extremely talented wrestlers, you had a little bit of teaming up at points with Hologram and Dorado kind of teaming up against Ricochet and Rush and vice versa, both sides doing their thing a lot. That led to actually some cool double team moves, which is, and every man for itself shouldn't always happen, but it looked cool. Hologram won.
Yeah.
Which he's undefeated in AEW currently.
Yeah, how does he keep avoiding title shots?
I like this because Ricochet looked pissed.
Yeah.
And I like what they're doing with Ricochet, so I was on board with this. Ricochet losing multi-man matches is funny. Because it doesn't hurt his character, like in terms of like, oh, he's losing because no one. I'm not both siding Jesse. It doesn't hurt his character because he's not like losing individually, which could be like, oh, he's on a losing streak. But it gives him something to be whiny about.
Yeah. He can make the most out of a loss.
Yeah.
Because if he wins all the time, what does he have to whine about? Then he's just, he could be arrogant, but right now that's where his money's at. And Hologram, dude, does he actually get the 4 million pesos? Does he actually get that in his check, or is this just some gimmick that Tony Khan has conjured up? I hope that these people get this money.
They're not getting it.
I hope they get this bonus. Because then if I was in this match, I would be like, I'd love to have that extra $100,000 in my, or that extra 4 million pesos. And then if I wasn't in this match, I'd be like, why am I not in this match? Why is that? See, that's the thing. Why isn't there more segments of people going, I want to be in this match because I could use this $100,000. I could use this 4 million pesos. Like, make it something that all you have to do is do a little bit of like work, like a quick segment or two, and make it something that makes me go, people really want to be in this. Yeah, of course we know it's not the AEW World Title, but at least we go, hey, what's it? Action Andretti's like, man, Leo Rush is getting 100. I want to be in this match. I want to get one of these so we can, spend that money. Whatever.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It gives them money is a big motivator.
Yeah. I don't need championships. Just keep putting me in that $100,000 match, Tony.
I don't care money.
Yeah, I want money. Yeah, just a little bit of kind of stuff like that would really help some of this stuff feel just a little bit more important. Where you're like, oh, I'm invested in it because you keep snubbing.
Yep, and it makes when like Ricochet gets mad, it makes it make more sense because now it's like you just cost me money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm with you on all counts there. I wouldn't have done anything differently. I don't think I would have had Ricochet win. So Hologram keeps his undefeated streak, and apparently Jesse's saying it's it's AEW's non-carbon based life form bias because he's a hologram.
Yeah. Do holograms even need? What do they need money? Can he spend money? Like, he's a hologram. He's not a real person.
But he probably needs to pay for a battery to keep the hologram functioning.
No, the guy that runs the hologram needs to pay for the battery to function. So I need to know who the guy behind the hologram is.
Well, he's running his own hologram.
Oh, he's that intelligent? Okay.
Someone turned it on, but since then it's just been him. He became sentient.
It just went haywire, and it's now terrorizing the world, but it landed in this weird universe that is AEW, and it's like, you know what? I kind of like this wrestling thing. I think I'm going to hang out here for a while.
Instead of Skynet, we got Hologram the Wrestler.
There you
Instead
go.
of the Matrix, we got Hologram the Wrestler.
Fair enough.
Hologram the wrestler is what happens when AI goes wrong.
We're incredibly right because it's undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Hologram the wrestler, so it's not like I'm saying it's a bad thing, but we're just saying that's sentient AI right there. Just so you know. All right, then we have Mercedes, which we talked about. So then we go to the main event, which featured Beast Mortos, allowed to wrestle in Arena Mexico for the first time in like 14 years because Tony Khan kind of cut a deal and said please.
Why couldn't he?
Hold on, let me see if I.
That's an interesting. I didn't know that. Why couldn't he wrestle there?
Maybe because it must have been who he wrestled with before. I don't know. Okay. Sometimes who these, but he
Oh yeah, I knew like those AAA guys couldn't wrestle. Sometimes couldn't wrestle on TV or wrestle certain things. Maybe that yes, I remember Vikingo had some issues where they couldn't air certain matches on.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I mean, he's clearly not AAA, but he left to work for AAA at one point, and that pissed him off.
Thank God.
Thanks, Jesse. But he wrestled. He was to fill in for Claudio because Claudio couldn't get there. Traveled issues. Fair enough. So he was a fun thing for the crowd. Versus, so it was Beast Mortars, the Death Riders, which was Moxley and Yuta, and the Young Bucks versus Swerve, the Ops, and Will Ospreay. This was a more AEW style multi-man match rather than the CMLL style that we saw previously. It was fun. The bad guys got the win in the end. Mox got the pin. I was like, okay.
Much of the same.
Yep. And then they were going to beat up with the good guys, but then Hangman came and made the save. But the interesting thing there is he was going to give a buckshot lariat to Mox, but Mox stuck, and he ended up hitting Matt Jackson. And Nick looked pissed. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Which always makes me laugh. You guys are professional wrestlers. You've been doing this for 15, 20 years. You know what happens here. Sometimes guys duck and others get hit. You've done it to other people when you know you're innocent. Why are you so mad?
Maybe the heat of the moment, the testosterone's going, and you got hit. You weren't expecting. I don't know, but yeah, that's one of those. Yeah, that's one of those tropes where you're. You think Beast Mortos got added? Somebody mentioned that he was a Beast lawyer. Maybe he was giving Mox some legal advice this week.
Yeah,
maybe that's why he was added. But this main event was, in my opinion, it was a fine main event. It was a fun main event. It was a showcase for that crowd. Nothing really exciting or different happened. It was the kind of the same deal. Then Hangman, like you said, he comes out at the end, like he said he was going to do at the beginning. Mox, they sneak away. It's kind of the same cut and paste thing that the Death Riders have been doing. So there wasn't anything that like made me go, "Oh crap, this is crazy." But it was still fun. Like I had a good time.
I agree.
They're kind of inching these stories along. And again, it's because I think this show overall was like a showcase for we're in Mexico. We're going to pander to this crowd and do that, which is fine. But we're not really going to move much along here towards All In.
Yeah, I agree. I will say Will Ospreay just posted on Twitter that when he landed in Mexico at 3 a.m. this morning, his mom called him telling him his granddad had passed away. So that sucks.
Oh, and he was rocking a headband. Was he cut up from something that happened from the Swerve match last week? I can't remember off the top of my head, but he had a headband on, and I actually thought it was a pretty cool look. That was a new look for Ospreay, but that sucks. Giving best to the Ospreay family. That's tough. Nobody likes to lose a loved one.
Apparently, I won't say it because even though it's on Twitter, I won't do a spoiler for I guess what happens either on ROH or
for Collision, because Collision's back Saturday.
Yeah,
and it's normal time slot in all its glory.
Scott reminding us that Mortos and Mercedes are a couple now. Listen, some people like bestiality. I myself, not a fan. Think it should be illegal, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, different strokes for different folks as long as it's consensual and legal or whatever.
I don't know if it is legal, but
I don't know, but hey, if that's what she's into, she was maybe, Mercedes is like, hey, I got all these belts now. What else can I do? What's a new frontier for me? And she's like, that's right here. So good for her.
Well,
good
that
for
was the
Beast
show.
Bortos.
Yeah, good for Beast.
Yeah, good for him.
So, what do you think of the show overall?
Yeah, like I said, I thought it was a fine show. It wasn't the best AEW Dynamite I've seen or Grand Slam I've seen. I felt like, again, I'm still sticking to there wasn't a lot of, and again, I don't know if maybe it was travel issues. Maybe there was, like you said, Claudio couldn't get there, blah, blah, blah. Maybe there were some issues along the way. We need more women's matches. I thought all the matches we had were fine. I thought they were fun. They were fast paced. If you hadn't been familiar with the CMLL style, you got a great, big taste of it today. And hopefully that means you found some wrestlers that you like and you're going to follow.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think, we've had two different companies, two different Mexico crossover shows, and I think both have gone fairly well.
Yeah.
It's just fun to see a little bit different style, a little bit, whatever. It does help when they are trying to limp their way to their, I don't say limp. They're doing well. They've been on a roll, but they are trying to slow roll some stories. I guess is the better way to say it. Yeah. To get to All In. So just a little stoppage in Mexico doesn't hurt. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. That being said,
real quick, why wasn't this? So like when they did Grand Slam, it could have been timing or venue things. So they did Grand Slam Australia. That was a collision show on a Saturday, and it did. Well, I just don't know why they ran, because you do these Grand Slam shows, different countries, and then that kind of becomes the focus of what you're doing, and it does take away from the stories you're trying to build towards All In. But yeah, like I said, it is what it is. It was fine.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't have an answer necessarily to your question, which is why I'm
just like shut up, Pluggo.
No, I mean, I'm
not sure why they did it this way. That's all I'm saying.
Me neither, but I guess so. You're always in the middle of between pay-per-views, so like you got to do it at some point.
Yeah, I guess too. Like this is a new frontier for AEW in the sense that this is what maybe the second year they're going into the second year or the year and a half of like almost a monthly pay-per-view, if not a monthly pay-per-view. And I still don't know if they've fine-tuned how to do it like the WWE has done it for so long now. The WWE's gone crazy and now they do like 3 pay-per-views a month. But, like they're trying to maybe figure out the formatting and how to space some things out, because it used to be quarterly, 4 pay-per-views a year, couple of TV specials. You had plenty of time to build things. Now you're like, boom, 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 we got to go. So, like I said, I didn't hate it. I think AEW's doing a good job. And for all the things that we critique today, I still think they do a good job and they're on a good trajectory overall. Just a couple of things, tighten up the screws a little bit, and we'll be off to the races.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree. So with that, that's going to wrap up our show. It was a little quick one this week as I return getting the flow. It's been a 2-week vacation for me, so got to get the sand out of my ears and all that fun stuff. So Pluggo, when you're not being the most excellent guest co-host, where can you be found?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back. It's been a while, so the sand in your ears, I got sand in every crevice. It's been so long since I've been on the Mark Order. But you can find me at Pluggo on all your social media platforms. You just look up Pluggo. This face pops up. That's me. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. with JPJ, who we flamed earlier in the show. Co-host with the most. We do Between Two Beards over at Love Wrestling. You can go to @B2Beards on all social media platforms to see what we got going on. We got Tyler Wrestles coming on this Thursday night. We'll talk about the week that was. We might even talk about this Dynamite a little bit. Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. with Blair Pacheco of the Grainmaker podcast. We do 4 Exposure over on Love Wrestling. That's at 4 Exposure Pod on Twitter. And then I do a little writing as well. That's up at lovewrestling.ca right now over on the internet. So if you want to check out some of my writings that are up right now, I got to get a couple more things out this week. I've been slacking. Agent Joseph, Witness Protection, poor guy. I would be too if I was a Nebraska Cornhuskers fan, but hey,
Well, so check Pluggo out in all those places. You can find me on all our socials at Mark Order Pod. You can follow my history blog, hereforhistory.com. I should have a new one out. Hopefully, if not the end of this week, it'll be very early next week. It will be out before the end of the month, so I keep my goal of an article a month going. At Here for History, at _ Here for History, depending on the social. So yeah, thank you. We will be back next week. Maybe I'll have my co-host. Maybe I won't. They kind of abandoned me last minute tonight. Those jerks.
Yeah, you jerks. I actually love you guys, but yeah.
Jerks. All right, now I do my outro here, Pluggo, which is I talk my way through this. I hit the outro cover.
Boom.
Then I go down. I turn up the music a little bit.
Do the Excalibur translation, and he does it.
And then I hit outro.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now